Hi, everyone. Today we are going to talk about how to grow your audience with share-worthy content. So we'll start a little bit with how content marketing used to be and where it is today. So here's where it started. You know, if you have some content to promote or some kind of event to promote, maybe, you'll send out a tweet, or this is how we kind of have known how to do marketing, right? You'll send out a tweet that's like, want to know X, join our webinar. Pretty straightforward. Or maybe we'll try a different kind of call to action. Here's our relatable statement. Now read the blog. Or maybe we'll try out an intriguing question and provide the context and then read this, right? All linking out to the webinar, the blog post, whatever it is that we're trying to promote. But how is it really going? Are these things still working? Is this how people are wanting to consume content? I'm not so sure. That first example, here's the engagement on it, right? The want to know X, join our webinar. Only got 2 retweets and 3 likes. The second one that had a relatable statement with a link to a blog post had 1 retweet and 6 likes. And that third one, some kind of post, I think it was about coffee, it had 3 retweets and 16 likes. So a little bit better. I'm not going to shame anybody here, but it's not going so great, right? I don't think anyone is seeing, I don't think the people who are posting these are thinking this is going great, but I have to point this out. Are these known brands? Well, the first one has over 130,000 followers and they're a verified account and they're a government organization. The second one has over 80,000 followers, also a verified account, and they truly are a credible author. And the third one, this one's newer, less than a year old, over 16,000 followers, and this is an account in a niche with a lot of interest. So you could make the case that, or one would have thought that some of these tweets were just low engagement or small accounts, but they're actually known. And why is this happening, right? Here's where I'm kind of thinking, it could be a chicken or egg situation where the algorithms have trained us or our behavior has trained the algorithms with, where we no longer see or engage with that type of teaser content. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe we don't actually want this stuff. But why, right? So I'm going to get into first with Google, right? So with Google, the main sort of platform for which we're trying to optimize for, usually, Google is manipulating the SERP, right? They put a lot of the answers directly in the search engine results page. So in 2020, we know that over 65% of Google searches ended without a click. So people are finding the content they need directly in the SERP. And sometimes this can be good for users, right? So maybe in the case of Paul Rudd's height, you're just curious how tall he is. Cool, he's 5'10". Maybe you don't need to read a blog post on that. You don't need content on that. Or maybe you're trying to convert something from milliliters to ounces. Helpful to have that calculator right there in the SERP. But sometimes this is pretty bad for publishers and small businesses. One really great example, even if it's a bit older, is with Genius, right? So a couple years ago, Genius.com had accused Google of stealing their content, as in stealing the lyrics, the music lyrics they post on their website and putting it in SERP. Google denied this. And so what Genius did was they used a watermarking system that embedded the patterns in the formatting of apostrophes in its lyrics. So they use a combination of like curved and straight apostrophes, which then popped up in Google search, thus by proving that Google actually was scraping the content from Genius's website. And you could take some of these overall trends and see how it's working on social media. In a sense, the social media platforms are not that different. Social media platforms or the algorithms reward native content or content that is native to the platform. For instance, Twitter's algorithm favors threads over linked content. right? We know this person, Sahil Bloom, has like 500,000 or 600,000 followers, largely from writing these Twitter threads. LinkedIn's algorithm also favors comments. So I think at this point, a lot of us know that little trick with LinkedIn when you are promoting a post of some kind or some kind of link, you drop the link in your own comments. And look, even Instagram, they don't even allow links in their captions. And they only recently, earlier this year, began allowing them in stories. So now creators or accounts with fewer than 10,000 followers can finally put links in their stories. And it's not just those three that I mentioned. Reddit, Pinterest, and Quora all favor in-platform content like linkless posts, images, and videos. TikTok and Snapchat are link lists. YouTube cuts off video descriptions that include links. So the old way of marketing your content, your event, your product, your business just doesn't work anymore. And instead of optimizing for Google, optimizing your content for Google, we need to optimize for impressions or optimize for our content to get seen. AKA, we have to write really, really good content, but it's hard. How do we create the share-worthy content? Through zero-click content. It's content that offers standalone value with no need to click. So clicking is additive to the user experience, not required. Now, this is not really a new practice, although we're seeing a lot more creators adopt this in the recent years. And we can go through a couple of examples within our peer groups. So here's a really good example, Rand Fishkin. So he's often posting native to platform video content. So he's not uploading videos to YouTube and linking them out. He's posting them directly in LinkedIn, for instance. So at LinkedIn, he'll post like 2-minute videos on marketing strategy or SparkToro demos and a nice mix of things. Posts them on LinkedIn and gets like hundreds of thousands of impressions of these videos. I myself will do this through repurposing blog posts that I've written and putting them into threads. So this Twitter thread of mine, it's really just a summarized version of my blog post. You don't actually have to read my blog post to understand what zero-click content is. Or even just people like Brendan Hufford, other solo creators who are building businesses. Brendan writes standalone insights on LinkedIn, usually like around 100 words. It'll be something that is discrete, actionable, totally valuable for the people scrolling through. And we also see this in other businesses and in other industries. So this is one example I really like from Force of Nature. They are a regenerative agriculture company. They also sell, they're a direct-to-consumer meat company. They sell like bison and venison and other great meat products. They have over 90,000 Instagram followers, and it's largely through zero-click content that is super share-worthy. This is a post about, different kinds of, I forgot what this is, but it's a post that would make a lot of sense to people who are following regenerative agriculture very closely. Bit of an eye chart for us, but this user base clearly really likes this content. Or even just looking at media examples. However you feel about Howard Stern, he's really good at this. He has, over 1 million YouTube subscribers, not surprising, but it's really just 2 to 5 minute clips of the juiciest parts of his long form celebrity interviews. I think we all know that the only way to really consume this content in its entirety, long form, is to purchase a Sirius XM subscription. Sure, these short clips make their way onto YouTube, but to get the full context, you have to subscribe to the radio station. And now there's even more out-of-the-box examples. So for this, the Redfin CEO, Glenn Kelman, is now going to star in a Netflix show about home buying and selling. So no doubt he will be sharing insights about how to prepare your home to sell it, what to do maybe when you're a new or first-time homeowner. So undoubtedly, this is going to be some kind of zero-click content. It's going to have standalone value. You don't need to be a Redfin user to get value from this sort of show. Now, how do we do this, right? I'm not going to say, oh, just go star in a Netflix show real quick. Fortunately, I have some repeatable frameworks with receipts ahead. Most of this can apply to brands, but because we know, that people generally prefer to follow other people, I've seen better success with this from people who are willing to be a face of their brand. All right, so overall, what you can do in social media is optimize for engagement streaks. This will essentially get you increased social visibility, grow your following, and hopefully gain more traffic to your site. And in doing so, you give the networks what they want. Content that keeps users on the platform, so no links. Posts that earn either replies or repeat visits or clicks, so things like polls, things that encourage more activity like replies than likes or shares. Or, giving visual and video formats, shocking headlines, and or surprising and unexpected content. And you could also give followers what they want. Consistency of focus. Unfortunately, people tend not to like deviation from the initial reason they followed you. So if you are dominating a niche in, let's say, demand generation, and you become known for, or you want to put the stake in the ground to be known for demand generation, and then you start going off the rails and tweeting about other things like food, people don't always like that deviation. You could also post high controversy and belief reinforcing content, or even content that's just easy to consume and process. So shorter, more visual, more emotional content tends to be really successful. And ideally, you will give your followers what they want. So this is a little bit where social listening may come into play. Social listening and keeping a pulse on industry trends. So here are some tools to help you do just that. I think about this on the sort of macro down to micro level. On the macro level, we have keeping up with industry or category trends. On the micro level, we have consuming what your audience consumes, right? So understanding what is top of mind for your audience or your core customer. So to help you understand industry or category trends, you can use tools like Google Trends, tools like Exploding Topics, or BuzzSumo. On the micro side, it is consuming what your audience consumes. A lot of people who talk about demand generation also read TechCrunch, and they listen to the Gartner Talent Angle podcast. Now, how do you go from the macro to micro, right? How do you go from understanding industry trends all the way down to consuming what your audience consumes? How do you know what your audience is consuming? Well, you can use tools like SparkToro. It's my startup. You can also use a tool like Feedly, which gives you a feed of what's popular in a given niche. A newstip.com, which shows you the popular press in a given niche. Or even frontpagemetrics.com. So this is a great resource to help you identify some of the fastest growing subreddits. Overall, the plan here, right, is to engage, draw traffic, and repeat. So create a high engagement, non-promotional social media post, another high engagement, non-promotional post. Then you can maybe sneak in your promotion that has a call to action, then go back to high engagement posts. So the high engagement, non-promotional social content, this is what earns you the brand exposure and grows your following count. And it's the promotion with the CTA that sort of capitalizes on your algorithmic reputation and ideally sends clicks back to your site. So what are some ways to do this? So we've gone over that overall framework of drawing people in. We've talked a little bit about, the importance of nice visuals, maybe emotional type of content or content that elicits an emotional reaction in people. I do have a couple of very specific tactics you can use. So in this example, consider just giving away the punchline to something. So this tweet and this fake buyer persona template, this was essentially a punchline that I had to a longer form blog post. And this blog post was about the importance of needing audience personas, not just a buyer persona. So long form blog post that I also turned into a webinar. And I used this buyer persona template, or this fake template, I mean, it was the punchline to my post, but it was also a way for me to promote the webinar and get more webinar signups. So this tactic works well for repurposing completed content. And this tweet got over 500 likes. And when you use an email, so I embedded this fake persona template in an email promotion for the webinar. Now, I mean, looking back on this year, it's our most clicked on email promotion this year. And this got us over 900 registrants. So got us a lot of amazing signups for this webinar. Next tactic, you can summarize the heart of your idea. So if what you can do is share an outline, maybe of your content, items in a list, or even just give a standalone thought, something that encompasses the heart of your idea. Remember, right? Clicking should be optional, and done well, you can probably do this multiple times with one piece of content. All right. So in this example here, again, this is Force of Nature, and this is from their newsletter. They have these nice like 5 grilling tips in their newsletter. Standalone content, right? Something novel here, at least novel to me, was to clean your hot grill grates with a halved onion. That's a little bit new and novel. And anyway, in these 5 tips, you get standalone value. You don't have to click out to Force of Nature's website. Another example of this comes from Wes Ko, the co-founder of Maven. She has this great blog post on the brand versus performance marketing spectrum, and she's repurposed this by way of a couple of visuals, which she repromotes over time. You can also just go to her website to get the full context of the post, and it's a great idea that she's been able to repeat by surfacing it up on social media now and then. And now the last tactic here, post a defensible hot take. This works really well for when you have long form content that has greater context for something. And remember, I would very much caution you to don't be salacious for the sake of being salacious. This is about like, what's a hill you're willing to die on, right? It isn't just like a half-hashed opinion. In this case, Steph Smith, she tweeted this: the 40-hour work week was established over a century ago. Since then, we've invented 5G networks, automation, 3D printing, AR, VR, and a computer that can fit in your pocket. Nearly all of the tools have changed, yet somehow people still think the way that we work needs to stay the same. So defensible hot take. She clearly has a strong point of view against the 40-hour work week. And once this tweet gained some traction, I think she then added a link to her blog post in which she says, look, we also talk through, in this podcast, we talk through traditions or societal defaults and whether or not they still serve you. So greater context here, where she will undoubtedly talk more about the 40-hour work week. So a great way to create share-worthy content. But wait, right? What about executive buy-in, right? I'm sure a lot of people here are thinking about like, this is all like nice, cool, optimized for impressions, but now I have to get buy-in. How do I do that? Well, one way I look at this is sustainable operations. Because if you're focusing on creating content that's so good, like a really, really, truly good blog post, you'll get a lot more out of it. So that one blog post can become 1 to 2 LinkedIn posts. It can become a Twitter thread and a couple of tweets. Maybe you also turn into a video, like you produce a video that's based on the blog post. Or it becomes a webinar, right? Remember in my first example, I talk about this blog post I did in audience personas that then became a webinar. Or it could even become a conference presentation, right? As you continue to create this content and build upon those foundational ideas, you can get to this nice repeatable format where you are getting a lot more out of your content. Sustainable operations. And the funny thing is, that's the counterintuitive outcome here of zero-click content, of share-worthy content. When you invest your time, energy, brain power, and resources into creating great content, content that you optimize to earn impressions or get seen, people will actually see it and they'll pay attention. And you just might find an opportunity like I did. We have this goofy buyer persona template that admittedly took me a couple hours to make that, promoted a 2,000 word blog post where I defended my claim that then resulted in the opportunity to present this to over 700 people at MozCon this year. So I hope you will trust this process, that you'll try it out for yourself, and that you'll see similar results. To learn more about audience research and how to create that great share-worthy content, I hope you'll check us out at SparkToro.com. We have an audience research newsletter, which we send out by every other Thursday. We also have some free tools, SparkToro.com/tools. We have a Twitter fake follower audit. We have trending topics and Spark Score, which tells you the overall engagement of any Twitter account. And then, of course, our flagship tool is audience research and data at SparkToro.com. And you'll see here that I did a quick SparkToro search for people whose profiles include the term marketing director. So if you're curious to learn a little bit more about yourself, here are some of the behaviors and demographics of marketing directors. And then finally, if you want to learn more from me, Amanda Natividad, you can find me on Twitter at AmandaNat, where I'm most active. I'm also at amandanat.com, where I write a twice monthly-ish newsletter. And finally, I teach a content marketing course, Content Marketing 201, over on maven.com. Thank you for having me.